Hi, everyone. Steve Adubato with my colleague, Mary Gamba. Welcome to Lessons in Leadership. We kick off the program with Maureen Ennis, who is founder and chief catalyst at Thrive Digital Era. Maureen, good to see you.
Good to see you, too.
You know, you came to Mary and I through our mutual friend, Greg Lalevee at Local 825, International Union of Operating Engineers. He started talking about this strategic doing, because I do leadership coaching there, as you know. What the heck is strategic doing, and what is the Strategic Doing Institute?
Yes. So strategic doing is three things. It's a methodology, a mindset, and a movement. So as far as being a methodology, it's just a combination of all the best things we know about bringing people together to get things done, and solve complex challenges. So that's the methodology of it. 10 skills that we're teaching people through facilitation and doing in the moment to take what they know and what they have right at their fingertips to solve the current problems that they're facing as a community, as a small team, whatever it is. For Greg's group, it was within small teams. In other ways, it's across boundaries with people who have a complex problem to solve.
Maureen is a certified facilitator with the Strategic Doing Institute, correct?
Yes. So
you admit that.
I admit that. It is a wonderful group. Now, I was introduced to it by our friends over at Morris County Chamber and NJIT. They started, I myself and Laura Ali got certified with them in this skill of facilitating groups and convening them to solve these problems together across boundaries. And so I come from the local New Jersey version, and I get to participate in this Global Strategic Doing Institute, which is now global. Every day of the week, I can join into a meeting that's talking about climate change or solving key business problems or small town issues that people are working and learning from that core of people.
Interesting stuff. Mary?
Maureen, what is one, you talk about strategic doing, you talk about how it brings people together. What is one concrete tip, tool, whatever you want to call it, for anyone watching that says, hey, this really sounds great, Maureen, but how do I do this? How do I make my team come together? What is that key to collaboration? Because I think so many teams are, especially if they're working in a hybrid situation, really struggling with that.
Yeah, you're right. So I like to use this acronym of LEAD. You know, the first thing is we need to all let go. Let go of this idea of control and hierarchical thinking and embrace this idea that great ideas can come from anywhere. And so the job of a leader these days is to convene the right people in the conversation. That's the first one in lead. The second one is experiment. Really be open to not a long plan being fully thought out, but saying, what's one thing I can do today that would start a ripple? That's the E, that's in our chip. And then, activating people, really empowering people to act, learning what they think they can do to solve the problem, not letting them lean back, but lean in to the problem and say, what could you do? And following through with that. And then the last one is really important for leadership, is really to just develop the guardrails and give good direction. So if you just kind of keep that in mind, lead, you can do the strategic doing simply and get started.
Maureen, Mary and I have this conversation all the time. We actually, speaking of trying to get feedback or insight or perspective from your team, I believe I sent out an email to our team a few weeks ago, Scarlett behind the camera, April here, to our makeup artist and the whole team. I believe I asked about motivation. Did I send that email? I said, what motivates a team? Because I'm sitting there, I struggle with that question. Like, how do we really motivate? And everyone's motivated differently, but this is an area you focus on as well. And we got great feedback from our team. Most of them just said, give us more money. Only half joking. But they earn it. Can't even pay them enough. That's how good they are. Do you believe there are a few key motivators that are universally applicable regardless of age or gender or whatever?
Mm-hmm. First, I kind of believe you can't motivate people. They have to motivate themselves.
Ooh. Talk about that.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
In my mind, I'm a motivational leader. And you said, Steve, no, you're not. You don't motivate. Go ahead, help us understand.
You can trigger people to be motivated, and you do that by what's a problem you care about, right? So that's part of our strategic doing, is convening people around what do you think needs to get fixed, and what could we do to make it fixed? So that's where I would start, is that you have to engage people in what they care about as it relates to the challenge. And if they say, I don't care anything about this, well, then this is not a place for you, honestly. So trying to motivate people who don't have a connection to what you're doing is tough.
Mary, and I'm listening to Maureen. You and I have had this conversation about people who are no longer on our bus, a la Jim Collins in his book, Good to Great, talks about who's on the bus, who's not. You and I agree that there are certain people we just could not motivate. But others, are we? I think I'm arguing against myself. Mary, do you think that we are trying to motivate people every day, or that Maureen's right that no, you just create a certain environment and they have to motivate themselves?
It's funny that you said that, Maureen, because I often say to Steve, I don't need that motivation. I don't need Steve to say, great job, that was really awesome. I said just on the opposite, what I don't need is if a mistake is made, which does happen, I just want to move on. I'll accept the responsibility and move on. So to me, that's a motivator, is if a mistake is made, we all have so much volume, things are going to slip through the cracks. It always happens. So for me, I do understand what you're saying, Maureen, but yes, Steve, we do. And one thing I would love to get your perspective on, Maureen, is do you find that the younger generation, I feel like they get a really bad rap, especially with the 20-somethings, and, you can't tell them, everybody gets a participation trophy, things like that. Do you find, though, that truly the 20-somethings are motivated differently than, say, all of us that are 50 and over?
I do, which means that us 50 and older, or 40 and older, 35 and older, all need to find ways to engage with those people and find, where is it that we both care about something? What's the level we got to get to in the problem that really says, oh, we actually are caring about the same thing. I want to solve it. You want to solve it. I think I could do it by this, A, B, C. So I commit to doing that. What do you think you could do about it? Because you told me you just cared about it. So it is on now our shoulders, not just theirs, to say, where is the common connection of what we care about and want to do? And that's what a good leader does. That's engagement. And then I think the next part of it is sometimes people call it accountability, but it's ownership. Once you have someone that's interested and is brainstorming ideas, then it's the leader's job to be able to say, well, what will you own, and keep them accountable? Right. And that then is engagement, not necessarily ownership, not motivation. That's making people keep their promises.
Maureen, it's such an interesting thing, because both of us are coaching and working with Local 825 and Greg Lalvey and his team. One of the things we do in our leadership coaching there is we ask every participant in the leadership seminars to come up with an idea for change or improvement.
Yes.
And very often Greg Lalvey will say, okay, that's the idea for change. And we'll ask, Greg and I, who's going to lead the effort? And very often people go, oh no, here, Greg, this is for you and upper management to deal with.
Yeah, fix it. It's a suggestion box.
And Greg says, no, you brought up the idea. What will you do? I'm not in that. No.
Yes.
How do you break through that? Well, if only management would do that.
Yeah.
How do we break through that?
Well, so if we're in a strategic doing session, you're not allowed to put any actions in your plan that you are not going to do, or the people at the table with you are not going to do. So it really is almost making an artificial construct for that. Saying, and I just had a group that I was working with in a manufacturing company up in Hamburg, and the action plan they came back with, it was mostly the leaders. It had all the manufacturing leads to do something. I'm like, no. Action plan has to be you. You have to do it. Even if it means you have to go talk to them to help them make the presentation. So I think the muscle of getting people to be able to say, I see this issue, I believe I could help with this, or we believe we could help with this, and then put it down in a plan to say, this is how it's going to happen. It is a new muscle. And that's something that Greg and his group are working on. The good work you've been doing with leadership development. Now, when you come back, how do we get that into a continuous cycle of improvement?
Well said. I always ask the question, so who's the quarterback of this initiative?
Yes.
And they'll think, I have to ask somebody. No, you're the quarterback. So, and Maureen Ennis is the quarterback of a whole range of important coaching that she does around this theme of strategic doing. She's affiliated with the Strategic Doing Institute as a certified facilitator. Maureen, I cannot thank you enough. And we also thank our partner and friend, Greg Lollevy, for connecting us. All the best, Maureen.
Take care.
You got it. Stay with us. We'll be right back. This edition of Lessons in Leadership is made possible by the Buccino Leadership Institute at Seton Hall University, Prager Metis, Valley Bank, the International Union of Operating Engineers Local 825, the North Ward Center, the New Jersey Sharing Network, the Helix, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, Fedway Associates Inc., Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, Choose New Jersey, and Seton Hall University, showing the world what great minds can do since 1856. We're now joined by Randall Solomon, Executive Director and founder of Sustainable Jersey at the College of New Jersey. Randall, good to see you again.
Nice to see you, Steve.
Tell everyone as the website is up exactly what Sustainable Jersey is.
Sustainable Jersey's a kind of a hybrid between a state agency and a mission-based nonprofit. We work with local governments, municipalities, and schools to help them implement the programs, the policies, the plans that they need to address their local problems and that contribute to addressing statewide and global problems like climate change.
What's the connection to the College of New Jersey?
So, we're kind of a hybrid between a state agency and a nonprofit, and the College of New Jersey is what makes that real. So there's a nonprofit, like a 501c3 Sustainable Jersey nonprofit, that has the nimbleness and the zeal of like a mission-based sustainability organization. But to help, New Jersey's blessed and cursed with 564 municipalities, around 600 school districts. So our mission is to help them be more effective. And so we also needed some of the institutional heft and capacity that comes along with being a state agency. And the College of New Jersey is an instrumentality of the state.
Randall, let's bring it closer to home. I'm in the town of Montclair, one of the 560 some odd communities in the state. It's called Home Rule. Check it out. Along those lines.
We do that well.
Double-edged sword. So That being said, what a community like mine or any other community in the state, what does it mean to be, quote, more sustainable? What are some of the things that need to be done, and how does it connect to the much, much bigger picture?
And if anyone's interested, you can go to our website, sustainablejersey.com, and check it out. And we have the very specific actions that we want municipalities and schools to implement that address sustainability issues. In terms of what you'd experience living there, there are some things that you wouldn't experience, like reducing greenhouse gas emissions. You wouldn't actually be able to see that or taste that, but there's other things that would make a big difference, like having more walkable communities, more electric vehicle charging stations, more incentive and support from the local government to help people make their homes more energy efficient, dealing with flooding, building better tree canopies to weather climate change. So there's a long list of vetted, practical, but impactful things that we want communities and schools to do. And they're doing it. So, since the program was launched a little over 10 years ago, the communities and schools have implemented and documented as part of a very rigorous certification program, over 27,000 discrete local actions to try to be more sustainable. And, the topic of the show is leadership. And it's funny because, my personal leadership style is just to be cranky and sarcastic. So I don't know if there's any lessons there. But, in terms of Sustainable Jersey, I think Sustainable Jersey has done a good job thinking about what are the motivations, what are the incentives, and what does local government need to be able to make progress. And we created a certification program that has really, in terms of organizational psychology, motivated local governments to implement so many actions. Most of the municipalities, most of the school districts in the state are in the program working to try to get certified, and it's created sort of virtuous competition, like a race to the top among them.
Randall, do you get any pushback about, because I'm not interested in having a conversation about those who deny climate change. I don't even know what that means. We're going to deny science. Okay, that's not what this is. But there are people who have views, opinions. I don't want the government to create the government, my local community, devil's advocate. I don't want my local government creating a bike lane or a more walkable. Traffic is traffic.
Yeah.
It's not that simple. There's an impact. There has been long-term impact and implications of that traffic and fewer people walking, fewer people riding a bike when the weather's not. These things matter. It's not just that's what I want, so that's what I want to do. Help me on this.
Well, the last time we did an actual survey, the number of communities that were Republican-led and Democratic-led that were participating in Sustainable Jersey matched the statewide average. It's about 2-to-1 Republican. And I think one of the really amazing things about Sustainable Jersey is, we were founded without a big government mandate. We were founded sort of bottom up by a bunch of mayors that included a lot of, Republicans who just wanted to make progress. And, we're sort of like the coalition of the willing. It's like the people of goodwill at the local level, but also in state agencies and in the legislature, who just want to make progress and know that they can't get the big law passed or whatever it may be. Like, let's just do it. And that's how Sustainable Jersey came about. And at the local level, there's something that really special that happens when you do sustainability work in communities. It's really hard, to demonize someone or stereotype them based on something you saw on cable news or, when it's your neighbor, when your kids play on the same sports teams, when you're looking across, at them in like some high school cafeteria at a local meeting, solving a problem that you all agree is like right in front of your faces. So I think
and that's not partisan. That's not ideological. That's our community, making our community safer, more sustainable, and frankly, healthier, no?
Right. It's practical problem solving with your neighbors. And, one of the things, when you look at our national politics right now, one of the things that's driving, the decline in our national politics is the loss of the human scale, the loss of something that happens when you're face to face with somebody. Everyone's familiar with that with the saying, like, oh yeah, say that to my face, right? Because, and of course, like that's an extreme example, but the idea, like when you're dealing with a human being, especially someone in your community that you've heard of before, and again, you go to the same public schools, you drive the same roads, you have to deal with them as human beings and as individuals and with their actual character and not based on a stereotype or an ideology. Right. And so, municipalities of all stripes and schools of all stripes have implemented actions in our program that you might typically say, oh, that's not something a Republican town would do. That's not something a Democratic town would do.
That doesn't hold true, does it?
It doesn't hold true. It doesn't. And I think, and I could tell you stories of back in the early days when we used to get calls from panicked mayors in rural New Jersey who, had like 5 outside organizers from some like the Koch brothers or, some far right think tank showing up at their town meeting saying, Sustainable Jersey is communist, and here's the leader of the communist movement. They had a whole presentation. Here's the leader of the communist movement in New Jersey, Randall Solomon. And then so I started showing up and I grabbed a mayor. His name was Art Ondish. And so he's a very well-known Republican mayor in Warren County. And he and I, and then a couple of other Republican mayors used to go around and debate these people. And they'd be like, oh, the League of Municipalities is, part of the United Nations communist conspiracy, because the League of Municipalities is one of our big partners in founding this, right? And then, of course, that just doesn't ring true to anybody who knows anything. And then they would say, well, if you take their grant, because, we do a lot of technical assistance. Just let me pause there. We do a lot of technical assistance and a lot of grant making, because we know that people at the local level are not just sitting around with all their free time and all their free money waiting for us to think up new things for them to do, right? So if we want them to do more, we have to help them. And so and that's part of why the partnerships with the state, with the legislature and the state agencies, that hybrid status is really important.
To Randall's point, check out the Sustainable Jersey website. It'll be up one more time. Randall Solomon, Executive Director and founder, Sustainable Jersey at the College of New Jersey. Randall, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Great to see you.
Yeah, stay with us. We'll be right back. Promotional support for this edition of Lessons in Leadership with me, Steve Adubato, and my colleague Mary Gamba has been provided by NJ.com, NJBIA and New Jersey Business Magazine, CIANJ and Commerce Magazine, and the Meadowlands Chamber and Meadowlands Media. Welcome back to Lessons in Leadership. Steve Adubato with my colleague and co-anchor, executive producer Mary Gamba. Hey, Mary,
keep going with those titles, Steve. A couple more.
Yeah, too many titles. So, Mary, can you promise me that we'll do a screenshot of this? This is Mary's new book that she published without telling me. She just wrote it on her own time.
Over 15 years. It's more of a diary, if you will, written over 15 years.
It's a really good book. Life Lessons Playbook. This is about raising kids in competitive sports and beyond. Mary's doing some final tweaks. We're going to do a full segment on this next time we tape, right, Mary? You promise?
100%. It will be ready to go. We're just making some final tweaks, but it will be ready to go. So we'll talk about it at our next taping.
But you will not be tweaking this cover of your two boys.
The cover is, it's pristine. That is a picture taken of both of my boys, Will and Joey. Yep, in Lake Placid, probably 7 years ago, and it's my favorite photo I've ever taken.
Well, it triggers this. Motivating our kids to work hard, to be better, to improve. Motivating team members. We've talked about that before. We were talking about this earlier, right? Let's talk about it. April, why are you looking at me that way? April, our makeup artist. April chimed in on this. So did Scarlett behind the camera. I think everyone on the team did. I asked the question in email, what are the keys to motivating our people? Mary, is it your view that the keys are different for everyone because everyone is in a different situation?
Everyone is in a different situation. Everyone has different history. Everyone has different upbringing. Everybody likes to receive motivation in different ways. Some people need it more than others. So no different than you give feedback to people in a different way. You need to motivate. And the hardest thing that I found as a leader is what motivates our different team members throughout the years. You and I have worked together for 24 and a half years, and we've had people that just need a, hey, great job, high five. You need other people that love to go out and, break bread together and grab a bite to eat. And other people, money is the master motivator. So it's really digging deep and peeling back the onion and figuring out what motivates each of your team members.
Is it really the question of motivation, or is it Frank and Elvin? Please join us, or do you have to be motivated? We don't have to pay them every time. Do we pay them every time they come on extra for an on-camera?
For television, yes, television appearances.
Yeah. Okay. Frank, Elvin.
I never received a check for television appearances.
That's why I was laughing.
Frank, we got to get that retro pay.
It's called retro pay.
My agent.
Yeah. So Frank, jump in first. You have, as a dad, you're a motivator, right?
Yes.
Okay. How much different do you think it is motivating our kids to be their best, to work hard, versus you're leading an organization motivating your team members? Any different? And if so, how?
Very different. I think that your kids, because they're more familiar with you day to day, right? The familiarity makes the motivating them a little harder, where your team members, and I often have to have a team when I'm setting up a stage for a show, and I have to bring in an audio team. So now that team has to be motivated in a different way. Of course, first and foremost, listen, let's keep it real. Money is the motivator.
Hold on, Frank.
They're not coming out for free. They're not. I can't call people and say, hey, listen, I'm going to pay you under scale and expect them to do a 12-hour, 15-hour, 18-hour day, and they are getting paid a substandard amount.
But Frank, you said the mode. Frank, respectfully, and Elvin's shaking his head. April and Scarlett are trying to put their heads down, but I know what they're thinking. You said is the motivator. You didn't say is a motivator. You said money is the motivator. You think it's the most important motivator? Question. Can I get an yes or no?
With a staff? Absolutely.
With a team.
With the team, with employees first and foremost. But with my kids, I mean, like I said, it's a different motivation. And it's a
Okay.
little bit harder because the familiarity, and you have to push them in a different way. You have to say the right things. I'm not one of those parents that's into bribing my kids. Oh, if you do this, or if you show up on the court today. No, you show up on the court because you said you wanted to play basketball. Don't play for me. I don't play basketball. I play the drums. So the bottom line is, guess what?
Okay.
That you're out here because you want to be out there. So I have to motivate them in a different way.
Right.
It's a different cheerleading.
I got it. Can I ask your colleague now? Elvin, is money the most important motivator for a leader trying to motivate his or her team members to be at their best in terms of performance, please?
I think money is the motivator. Money, along with also giving good feedback. I believe in, and this is with coaching and with leading, you can break down your people, but you also have to build them back up. It's not all about breaking them down. So if you give them negative feedback, you have to follow that up with some positive reinforcement about what they've been doing, what's working, what's not working. But money is the best motivator. For me, it is. Like, I can be unhappy at a place, but if you're paying me, listen, money talks. I will.
Elvin, wait. Mary, jump in here.
Are you trying to tell us something, Elvin?
No, because, and I've always said this, and I don't care, this is on TV. I love you guys. You're not only my client, but you're also my friends. We have conversations offline. Mary, we talk. Steve, we talk. So this is more than just work. It's a friendship.
Hold on one second. Elvin, are you saying if we paid you less and treated you better, you would be motivated even more? No, now see,
No,
you
because
used the word love.
the
You
good
said
thing
love,
about you,
Elvin.
Steve, is you pay me my worth. So anything extra is extra. It's above and beyond. But you're paying me my worth. You're not saying, hey, I'm only going to give you this when I'm worth
Because
more.
you love me. You just said you love. By the way, question. If someone created an environment, Mary, jump in here too. If you create an environment that's loose, that's fun, which is what Lessons in Leadership. It's loose, it's fun. We take it seriously, but hopefully, and trust me, there's a lot of teasing that goes on. You have all that, but money better be in place, Elvin.
Yes?
Or
Yes.
I don't care how much fun we're having, you better
No,
pay.
because I can't pay my bills with fun.
I was just going to say that, Elvin. You cannot pay your bills with fun, and money is a motivator. And whether it is
Mary, not the primary most important motivator.
if you have to rank, if we were on Family Feud and it was ranked and you had to buzz in and say, what is the biggest motivator at work? Number one, thank you, Frank. Number one, I would say more than 50 of the 100 would say money is the motivator.
Okay, got a minute left. Frank, give me just another one real quick. Other than money, what do you got?
Once again, positive feedback. Listen, everybody wants a pat on the back.
A pat on the back.
They want to know they're doing a good job.
Opportunity.
Scarlett says opportunity. April, jump in. I'll say whatever you go ahead. Other than money, opportunity, feedback. What'd you say? Positive environment. A positive environment.
I was going to say the same thing, April. And my thing is money and then a positive environment. And
I
then
agree.
that positive feedback.
Does the money make it a more positive environment?
No.
It helps.
It helps, but it doesn't make it a more positive environment. Not at all.
Wow. Okay.
But if you're paying me a decent salary and the place is not a positive environment, I'll deal with it.
What'd you
I'm
say?
getting paid at the end of the day.
Someone you want to hang out with? Well, let's not push it.
All right, Steve, that's it. You got to go, sir.
No, we got to go. By the way, we're doing this around the holidays. This is usually the time that bonuses and extra pay happens. Don't think that as the alleged leader of this organization that I'm oblivious to that. This is Lessons in Leadership, a great team who's underpaid. We'll see you next time. This edition of Lessons in Leadership is made possible by the Buccino Leadership Institute at Seton Hall University, Prager Metis, Valley Bank, the International Union of Operating Engineers Local 825, the North Ward Center, the New Jersey Sharing Network, the Helix, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, Fedway Associates Inc., Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, Choose New Jersey, and Seton Hall University, showing the world what great minds can do since 1856.
This is Mary Gamba. If you want more leadership tips and tools, log on to stand-deliver.com.
Promotional support for this edition of Lessons in Leadership with me, Steve Adubato, and my colleague, Mary Gamba, has been provided by NJ.com, NJBIA and New Jersey Business Magazine, CIANJ and Commerce Magazine, and the Meadowlands Chamber and Meadowlands Media.